The morning fog hung thick over Windsor Castle as Commander James Mitchell adjusted his ceremonial uniform one final time. As head of the Royal Guard, he had served the monarchy for over 25 years, through scandals, celebrations, and state emergencies. But today felt different. Today, he would make a decision that would send shockwaves through the entire royal establishment. His secure phone buzzed insistently on the mahogany desk. The caller ID showed a number he recognized immediately, the Prime Minister's private line. Mitchell hesitated for a moment before answering, knowing that whatever conversation was about to unfold would change everything. "Commander Mitchell," he answered with his usual military precision. "James." "We have a situation," came the urgent voice of Prime Minister Rebecca Thornton. "Our intelligence services have intercepted communications that suggest Queen Camilla's upcoming diplomatic meeting with the European delegation may be compromised. There are credible threats to her safety and, more concerning, potential security leaks within the royal household itself." Mitchell felt his stomach tighten. The Queen Consort was scheduled to host a crucial diplomatic summit in just 3 days. The meeting was meant to strengthen Britain's post-Brexit relationships with European allies, and Camilla had spent months preparing for this moment. It would be her most significant solo diplomatic engagement since becoming Queen Consort. "What kind of threats are we looking at?" Mitchell asked, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "We believe there may be an attempt to embarrass the Crown during the negotiations. Our sources indicate that someone close to the royal family has been feeding information to foreign press outlets. The leak could potentially damage not just this meeting, but Britain's standing in future diplomatic relations." Mitchell walked to the window, gazing out at the grounds where tourists were already gathering for the changing of the guard ceremony. Everything appeared normal, peaceful even, but beneath the surface, he knew chaos was brewing. "Have you spoken to His Majesty about this?" Mitchell inquired. "King Charles is currently in Scotland dealing with the flooding crisis in the Highlands. He cannot return for at least 48 hours. The decision falls to you as head of security. We need someone we can trust absolutely to handle this situation." Mitchell understood the weight of what was being asked. Canceling or postponing such a high-profile diplomatic event would raise questions, possibly causing more damage than the original threat. But allowing it to proceed with a potential security breach could be catastrophic. What about Prince William? Mitchell found himself asking. He has extensive diplomatic experience and the European delegates respect him immensely. There was a pause on the other end of the line. "That's exactly what we were hoping you would suggest. Prince William has been briefed on the situation and is willing to step in. However, this decision must appear to come from palace security concerns, not political maneuvering." Mitchell nodded, even though the Prime Minister couldn't see him. He understood the delicate dance required. The public and press must believe this was purely a security decision, not a reflection of any lack of confidence in Queen Camilla's abilities. Over the next hour, Mitchell made a series of carefully orchestrated phone calls. First to Prince William's private secretary, then to the European delegation's security team, and finally to the palace's head of communications. Each conversation was precise, professional, and designed to minimize speculation while maximizing security. Prince William received the news with characteristic composure. "I understand the gravity of the situation, Commander," he said during their secure video call. "My stepmother has worked incredibly hard preparing for this summit. If stepping in protects both her safety and Britain's interests, then it's the right decision." The prince's response reinforced Mitchell's confidence in the choice. William had always demonstrated a natural aptitude for diplomacy, and his personal relationships with several European leaders would actually strengthen the summit's potential outcomes. Meanwhile, Queen Camilla was in her private study, reviewing her notes for what she believed would be her diplomatic debut as Queen Consort. She had spent countless hours with foreign policy advisors, learning the intricate details of trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and political nuances that would be discussed during the summit. Her lady-in-waiting, Sarah Pemberton, knocked gently on the door. "Your Majesty, Commander Mitchell requests a private audience. He says it's regarding the European summit." Camilla looked up from her papers, a slight frown creasing her brow. Security briefings were usually handled through her private secretary, not directly by the head of the Royal Guard. Very well. Show him in. Commander Mitchell entered the study with his usual military bearing, but Camilla immediately sensed something was wrong. In her years as a member of the royal family, she had developed an instinct for reading the subtle signs of palace crisis. Your Majesty, Mitchell began, his voice respectful but firm, I'm afraid I must inform you of a significant security concern regarding your upcoming diplomatic summit. Camilla set down her pen and gave him her full attention. What kind of concern, Commander? Our intelligence services have identified potential threats to both your personal safety and the confidentiality of the proceedings. After consulting with the Prime Minister and reviewing all available options, I must recommend that Prince William represent the Crown at this summit instead. The silence that followed was deafening. Camilla felt as though the air had been knocked from her lungs. This summit represented months of preparation and her opportunity to prove herself as a capable diplomatic representative of the monarchy. Can you be more specific about these threats? She asked, maintaining her composure despite the disappointment evident in her voice. Mitchell provided a carefully edited version of the intelligence briefing, emphasizing the security concerns while avoiding the more sensitive details about potential leaks within the royal household. He watched as the Queen Consort processed the information, her expression shifting from disappointment to understanding. I see, Camilla said finally. And you believe Prince William is better positioned to handle whatever challenges may arise? His Majesty has extensive experience with European diplomatic relations, and our intelligence suggests the threats are specifically targeted at disrupting your participation. Substituting Prince William removes the primary risk factor while ensuring the summit proceeds successfully. Camilla nodded slowly, though her heart was breaking. She understood the logic behind the decision, even if she couldn't fully accept the necessity of it. Very well, Commander. I trust your judgment in matters of security. When will Prince William be briefed on the diplomatic agenda? The briefings will begin this afternoon, Your Majesty. His Royal Highness has already expressed his commitment to honoring the preparation work you have done. As Commander Mitchell left the study, Camilla returned to her notes, knowing they would now serve a different purpose entirely. Prince William stood in his private office at Kensington Palace, staring at the stack of diplomatic briefing papers that had just been delivered. The weight of the sudden responsibility pressed heavily on his shoulders. In less than 48 hours he would be representing the British Crown in one of the most important European diplomatic summits of the year. His private secretary, David Henderson, entered the room carrying another box of documents. Your Royal Highness, the Foreign Office has sent over the complete files on each delegation member, including their personal preferences, negotiating styles, and previous diplomatic positions. William nodded, already feeling overwhelmed by the sheer volume of information he needed to absorb. What about Queen Camilla's preparation materials? I want to understand her approach to these negotiations. Her Majesty's notes and strategic plans are being compiled as we speak. She has also offered to personally brief you on her intended talking points and the relationship she has been building with the European representatives. Meanwhile, across London at Buckingham Palace, Queen Camilla was struggling with her own emotions. She sat in the blue drawing room, traditionally used for receiving foreign dignitaries, and tried to process the morning's events. Her closest confidant, Lady Margaret Ashworth, sat quietly beside her. I can't help but feel this is more than just a security concern, Camilla confided. I've been preparing for this summit for months, Margaret. Every detail, every cultural nuance, every potential negotiation point. And now it's all been taken away. Lady Margaret chose her words carefully. Your Majesty, perhaps this is an opportunity to demonstrate grace under pressure. How you handle this setback will be closely watched by both the public and other members of the royal family. Camilla knew her friend was right, but the sting of disappointment remained sharp. This summit had represented her chance to step fully into her role as Queen Consort, To prove she could handle the most demanding aspects of royal duty with competence and dignity, back at the security headquarters within the palace, Commander Mitchell was coordinating with various intelligence agencies to ensure Prince William's safety during the summit. The threats against Queen Camilla had been real, but Mitchell harbored additional concerns he hadn't fully shared with anyone. His deputy, Colonel Sarah Davies, entered with an encrypted file. "Sir, we've identified the source of the potential security leak. It appears to be coming from someone within Queen Camilla's personal staff." Mitchell's jaw tightened. "Do we have a name?" "The investigation is ongoing, but preliminary evidence suggests it may be someone who has access to her private calendar and briefing materials." The leaked information included details about her preparation strategy and planned negotiating positions. This revelation added another layer of complexity to an already difficult situation. Not only was there a security threat, but there was also the possibility that someone in Queen Camilla's inner circle was working against her interest. Prince William, unaware of these latest developments, was immersing himself in diplomatic protocol. He had arranged to meet with several European ambassadors informally before the summit, hoping to gauge their expectations and concerns. His first meeting was with Ambassador Klaus Weber from Germany. They met in the ambassador's private study at the German embassy, away from the media attention that would surely follow once news of the change in royal representation became public. "Your Royal Highness," Ambassador Weber began. "I must confess surprise at this sudden change. Queen Camilla had been corresponding with our delegation for weeks. We were very much looking forward to working with her." William chose his words carefully. "I understand your surprise, Ambassador. Unfortunately, security concerns have necessitated this change. However, I can assure you that the summit's objectives remain unchanged, and I am fully committed to achieving the outcomes that were planned." Ambassador Weber studied the prince's face, clearly trying to read between the lines. "Is there something specific we should be concerned about regarding security?" "Our security services are handling all necessary precautions," William replied diplomatically. "Your delegation's safety and the confidentiality of our discussions are our top priorities." Similar conversations were taking place with other European representatives throughout the day. Each ambassador expressed surprise and some concern about the last-minute change, but all confirmed their continued participation in the summit. At the same time, Queen Camilla was having her own difficult conversations. She had called her son, Tom Parker Bowles, to inform him personally about the situation before he heard about it through media channels. "Mum, this is absolutely ridiculous," Tom said over the phone. "You've worked harder than anyone to prepare for this summit. Surely there must be another way to handle whatever security issues they're worried about." Camilla appreciated her son's loyalty, but she also understood the broader implications. "Darling, I have to trust that Commander Mitchell and the security services know what they're doing. The monarchy's reputation is more important than my personal disappointment." But privately, Camilla was beginning to wonder if there were other factors at play. The timing seemed suspicious, and the vague nature of the security threats left room for doubt about the real reasons behind the decision. That evening, Prince William requested a private meeting with Queen Camilla. They met in her sitting room at Clarence House, where she had been reviewing all her preparation materials one final time. "Camilla," William began, using the informal address he had adopted since her marriage to his father, "I want you to know that I don't take this responsibility lightly. Your preparation work has been extraordinary, and I hope to honor that effort." Queen Camilla smiled, though sadness was evident in her eyes. "William, you don't need to apologize. I know you didn't ask for this situation any more than I did. I just want to make sure you have everything you need to succeed." They spent the next 3 hours going through every aspect of the summit agenda. Camilla shared her insights about each delegation member's personality, their country's current political pressures, and the delicate balance needed to achieve meaningful agreements. "The French delegation is particularly concerned about agricultural trade agreements," Camilla explained. "Ambassador Dubois mentioned to me that they're under significant pressure from their farming communities. If you can acknowledge those concerns early in the negotiations, it might open doors to compromise on other issues. William took careful notes, impressed by the depth of Camilla's understanding. What about the Italian representatives? They've been the most vocal about financial cooperation agreements. Ambassador Rossi is actually more flexible than he appears in public statements. His real concern is ensuring that any agreements don't disadvantage Italy's smaller businesses. If you frame the financial cooperation in terms of supporting small enterprises across Europe, you'll likely find more common ground. As the evening progressed, William realized that losing Queen Camilla's direct participation in the summit was indeed a significant disadvantage. Her months of relationship building and cultural understanding couldn't be easily transferred, no matter how comprehensive her briefing. "There's something else you should know," Camilla said as their meeting was drawing to a close. "I've been sensing some resistance to my involvement in diplomatic matters from certain quarters within the palace. I can't help wondering if these security concerns are being used as a convenient excuse." William looked surprised. "What makes you think that?" "Nothing concrete," Camilla admitted. "Just a feeling that some people believe I should stick to ceremonial duties and leave the serious diplomatic work to others. Perhaps this situation serves multiple purposes. The possibility that the security threats were being used to sideline Queen Camilla for political reasons was troubling to William. He made a mental note to investigate further, though he knew he needed to be careful about whom he trusted with such sensitive suspicions. As he prepared to leave, William took Queen Camilla's hand. "Whatever the real reasons behind this decision, I promise you that I will represent your vision and preparation with honor. This summit will succeed, and you will receive the credit you deserve for making that possible." Queen Camilla squeezed his hand gratefully. "Thank you, William. That means more to me than you know." The next morning brought a media storm that Commander Mitchell had been dreading. News of the sudden change in royal representation had leaked to the press, and palace phones were ringing constantly with requests for comment and clarification. Rebecca Hartwell, the palace's director of communications, burst into Mitchell's office with a stack of morning newspapers and her tablet displaying various news websites. "Commander, we have a serious public relations crisis developing. Look at these headlines." Mitchell scanned the headlines with growing concern. Queen Camilla sidelined in diplomatic crisis. Royal security fears force last-minute summit changes, and most troubling, palace sources question Queen Consort's diplomatic capabilities. Who are these so-called palace sources? Mitchell demanded, his military training making him suspicious of intelligence leaks. "That's what we're trying to determine," Rebecca replied. "But the damage is already being done. Social media is exploding with speculation about everything from health issues to family disagreements. We need to get ahead of this story immediately." Meanwhile, at Kensington Palace, Prince William was trying to maintain his focus on summit preparation while dealing with his own media challenges. His press secretary, James Morrison, had been fielding calls since dawn. "Your Royal Highness," Morrison said during their morning briefing, "the European media is particularly interested in this story. They're portraying it as either a sign of instability within the British royal family or as evidence that the UK doesn't take European relations seriously." William rubbed his temples, feeling the pressure mounting. "What's our official response?" "We're sticking to the security explanation, but reporters are pushing for more details. They want to know what specific threats necessitated such a dramatic change." "Obviously, we can't provide those details," William said firmly. "But we need to emphasize that this change doesn't reflect any lack of confidence in Queen Camilla or any reduction in Britain's commitment to European cooperation." At the same time, Queen Camilla was dealing with her own media attention. She had canceled her planned public engagements for the day, officially due to illness. But reporters were stationed outside Clarence House hoping to catch a glimpse of her. Her private secretary, Patricia Williams, brought her the latest media reports. "Your Majesty, most of the coverage is actually quite sympathetic. The public seems to understand that security concerns must take precedence. And many outlets are praising Your Grace in handling the situation." Camilla appreciated the positive spin, but she knew that public perception could change quickly. What about the European press? How are they covering this? Mixed reactions, Patricia admitted. Some are disappointed about the change, while others are excited about the prospect of working with Prince William. The German newspapers seem particularly supportive of the decision. Back in the Security Command Center, Colonel Davies had been working through the night to trace the source of the information leaks. She had narrowed down the possibilities to 3 members of Queen Camilla's personal staff. "Sir," she reported to Commander Mitchell, "we've identified unusual communication patterns from 3 individuals. 2 of them accessed Queen Camilla's private calendar multiple times in the past week, and 1 has been in contact with a known freelance journalist." Mitchell studied the surveillance reports carefully. "Do we have enough evidence to make an accusation?" "Not yet, but we're monitoring all their communications now. If there are additional leaks related to the summit, we should be able to identify the source definitively." This investigation was adding another layer of stress to an already complex situation. Mitchell knew that if they discovered a confirmed security breach within Queen Camilla's staff, it would justify his decision to recommend the change in representation. But it would also mean that someone the Queen Consort trusted had betrayed that confidence. Prince William, unaware of the ongoing investigation, was meeting with his father's private secretary to discuss the diplomatic strategy. Sir Edward Morrison, a veteran of decades of royal protocol, had served King Charles since his time as Prince of Wales. "Your Royal Highness," Sir Edward began, "His Majesty called from Scotland this morning. He wanted to ensure you had his full support for this summit, and he asked me to share some insights about the European relationships he has built over the years." William was grateful for any additional perspective. "What did my father suggest?" The king emphasized the importance of personal relationships in European diplomacy. Many of these leaders have known him for decades, and they respect the continuity that represents. As his son, you carry that legacy, which may actually be an advantage in these negotiations. This point helped William see the situation from a different angle. While Queen Camilla had worked hard to build her own diplomatic relationships, his inherited connections might indeed serve Britain's interests better in this particular forum. At the German embassy, Ambassador Weber was meeting with his own staff to discuss the implications of the change in British representation. His deputy, Dr. Anna Müller, had been analyzing the political implications. "Ambassador," Dr. Müller said, "our contacts within the British government suggest this change may actually be beneficial for the summit's outcomes. Prince William has stronger existing relationships with several European leaders, and his environmental advocacy aligns well with current European policy priorities." Ambassador Weber nodded thoughtfully. "Perhaps this unexpected change will create opportunities we hadn't anticipated. Prince William's passion for environmental issues could be the key to breakthrough agreements on climate cooperation." Similar conversations were happening in other European embassies throughout London. What had initially seemed like a crisis was beginning to be viewed as a potential opportunity for deeper cooperation. Queen Camilla, meanwhile, was struggling with conflicting emotions. Part of her felt relieved that the enormous pressure of the summit was no longer on her shoulders, but another part felt diminished by being sidelined from such an important royal duty. Her longtime friend, Annabel Elliot, visited Clarence House for tea and found Camilla in an unusually reflective mood. "I keep wondering if I'm not cut out for this level of responsibility," Camilla confided. "Maybe the critics are right that I should stick to ceremonial roles and leave the serious diplomatic work to others." Annabel, who had known Camilla for decades, immediately rejected this self-doubt. "Don't be ridiculous, Camilla. You've proven your capability countless times. This situation is about security, not about your abilities." But even as her friend offered reassurance, Camilla couldn't shake the feeling that there were political undercurrents she didn't fully understand. The timing of the security concerns seemed too convenient, and the rapid media leaks suggested that someone wanted this story to become public. That afternoon, Prince William received an unexpected call from the French president's office. President Emmanuel Macron wanted to speak with him personally before the summit. "Your Royal Highness," President Macron said during their video call, I wanted to express my continued enthusiasm for our diplomatic cooperation. While we were prepared to work with Queen Camilla, I have great confidence in your ability to lead these discussions. William appreciated the show of support. Thank you, President Macron. I understand that agricultural trade agreements are a priority for France in these negotiations. Indeed, Macron replied, but I'm equally interested in discussing our shared environmental commitments. Your advocacy for sustainable development aligns perfectly with France's green energy initiatives. This conversation reinforced William's growing confidence that he could successfully manage the summit responsibilities. His existing relationships and policy expertise might indeed serve the negotiations well. However, the underlying questions about the real reasons for the change continued to trouble him. As the day progressed, he found himself paying closer attention to palace dynamics and wondering who might benefit from Queen Camilla being excluded from such a high-profile diplomatic role. Late that evening, Commander Mitchell received a call that would change everything. Colonel Davies had intercepted a communication that confirmed their worst fears about the security leak. "Sir, we have definitive proof of the breach," Davies reported. "One of Queen Camilla's staff members has been providing detailed information about summit preparations to a foreign journalist. But there's more. The leaked information includes strategic details that could only have come from someone with access to the Queen Consort's most confidential briefing materials." Mitchell felt his stomach sink. The security threat was real, and it was coming from within Queen Camilla's own trusted circle. The decision to change representation had been absolutely correct. But now he would have to inform the Queen Consort that someone she trusted had betrayed her confidence. The investigation had revealed not just a security breach, but a personal betrayal that would shake Queen Camilla's faith in those closest to her. Commander Mitchell stood outside Queen Camilla's private study, steeling himself for one of the most difficult conversations of his career. In his hand, he carried a classified file containing evidence that would shatter the Queen Consort's trust in someone she had considered a close confidant. The morning sun streamed through the tall windows of Clarence House as Mitchell was announced by the duty equerry. Queen Camilla looked up from her correspondence, immediately sensing the gravity of the commander's expression. "Your Majesty," Mitchell began, his voice carefully controlled, "I'm afraid I must share some disturbing findings from our security investigation." Camilla set down her pen and gave him her full attention. "Please sit down, Commander. What have you discovered?" Mitchell opened the file and withdrew several documents. "Our investigation has confirmed that confidential information about your summit preparations was being systematically leaked to foreign press outlets. We have identified the source." The Queen Consort felt her heart skip a beat. "Who?" "Sarah Pemberton, your lady-in-waiting," Mitchell said gently. "We have intercepted communications between Mrs. Pemberton and a freelance journalist who has been selling stories to several European newspapers." The color drained from Camilla's face. Sarah Pemberton had been with her for over 3 years, had access to her most private moments, and had become someone Camilla trusted implicitly. The betrayal felt personal and devastating. "What kind of information was she sharing?" Camilla asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Summit preparation details? Your private concerns about specific negotiations, and most damaging, your strategic approaches to handling difficult diplomatic situations. The leaked information could have been used by other delegations to gain unfair advantages in the negotiations." Camilla rose from her desk and walked to the window, struggling to process this revelation. Not only had her diplomatic debut been taken away from her, but now she learned it was partly due to the betrayal of someone she had considered a friend. Meanwhile, Prince William was at Windsor Castle meeting with senior Foreign Office officials to finalize summit preparations. The irony wasn't lost on him that he was benefiting from a situation that had caused his stepmother such pain. Even though he hadn't sought this responsibility. Foreign Secretary Linda Harrison briefed him on the latest intelligence reports. "Your Royal Highness, the security situation has evolved since yesterday. We now have confirmation that the information leaks were more extensive than initially believed. William looked up sharply from his briefing papers. How extensive? The leaked materials included not just Queen Camilla's preparation notes, but also details about British negotiating positions and potential compromise areas. If these negotiations had proceeded as originally planned, the other delegations would have had significant advantages. This news made William realize that Commander Mitchell's decision had been even more crucial than anyone had understood. The summit's success and Britain's diplomatic standing had genuinely been at risk. Back at Clarence House, Queen Camilla was meeting with Sarah Pemberton, though the lady-in-waiting didn't yet know that her betrayal had been discovered. Camilla struggled to maintain her composure as she looked at someone who had shared her private thoughts and anxieties while secretly undermining her efforts. "Sarah," Camilla said carefully, "I wanted to thank you personally for all your support during the summit preparations. I know this change in plans must be disappointing for you as well." Sarah Pemberton shifted uncomfortably, perhaps sensing something different in the Queen Consort's manner. "Of course, Your Majesty. I was very much looking forward to supporting you during the summit. It's unfortunate that security concerns necessitated the change." Camilla studied Sarah's face, looking for any sign of guilt or remorse. Yes, the security concerns were quite serious. Commander Mitchell briefed me on some disturbing intelligence about information leaks. Sarah's composure faltered slightly. "Information leaks, Your Majesty?" Someone with access to confidential summit materials had been sharing them with journalists. It's a very serious breach of trust. Camilla watched as Sarah's face grew pale. "I'm sure you understand how devastating it would be to learn that someone in my inner circle had betrayed my confidence." The confrontation continued for several more uncomfortable minutes before Commander Mitchell arrived to formally arrest Sarah Pemberton. As security officers escorted her from the building, Camilla felt a mixture of vindication and profound sadness. Prince William learned of Sarah Pemberton's arrest while reviewing environmental policy briefings. The news reinforced his understanding of why the security services had taken such dramatic action, but it also made him more aware of the personal cost to Queen Camilla. He immediately called Clarence House to speak with his stepmother. "Camilla, I've just heard about Sarah Pemberton," he said when she answered. "I'm so sorry. This must be incredibly difficult for you personally." "Thank you, William," Camilla replied, her voice strained. "It's not just the betrayal itself, but knowing that someone I trusted was working against everything I was trying to accomplish. It makes me question my judgment about people." William chose his words carefully. "Don't let one person's betrayal undermine your confidence. From what I've learned about your summit preparations, your work was exceptional. Sarah Pemberton's actions don't diminish that." At the European delegation's hotels across London, news of the arrest was creating significant discussion about the summit's prospects. Ambassador Weber called an emergency meeting with his staff to assess the implications. "This development confirms that the British security concerns were legitimate," Weber told his team. "It also suggests that Prince William's participation may actually ensure more secure and productive negotiations." Ambassador Dubois from France was having similar conversations with his delegation. "The leak investigation shows how seriously the British government takes these negotiations. We should interpret Prince William's involvement as evidence of their commitment, not as a sign of disarray." Meanwhile, the British media was having a field day with the story of the arrested royal staff member. News outlets were scrambling to understand the full scope of the security breach and its implications for royal protocol. Rebecca Hartwell, the palace's director of communications, was working around the clock to manage the narrative. "We need to emphasize that this arrest vindicates the security service's decision to change summit representation," she explained to her team. "It proves that Commander Mitchell was right to be concerned." Queen Camilla, despite her personal pain over the betrayal, began to understand the broader implications of the situation. The arrest of Sarah Pemberton actually strengthened the justification for replacing her at the summit, even though it felt like adding insult to injury that evening. King Charles finally returned from Scotland and immediately requested briefings on the entire situation. He met with Commander Mitchell, Prince William, and Queen Camilla separately to understand each perspective on the events. His conversation with Camilla was particularly emotional. "My dear, I'm so sorry that your first major diplomatic assignment became entangled with this security crisis," Charles said as they sat in his private study at Buckingham Palace. "Charles, I can't help but wonder if I'm truly suited for these kinds of responsibilities," Camilla confided. "Maybe the critics who say I should stick to ceremonial duties are right." The king took her hands firmly. "Absolutely not. What happened with Sarah Pemberton could have occurred with any member of the family. Your preparation for this summit was thorough and professional. Don't let one person's betrayal define your capabilities." Charles also met with Prince William to understand his perspective on taking over the summit responsibilities. "How are you feeling about stepping into this role so suddenly?" the king asked. "Honestly, Father, I feel conflicted," William admitted. "I'm confident I can handle the diplomatic challenges, but I know how much this opportunity meant to Camilla. I don't want my involvement to seem like I was waiting to take her place." "Your stepmother understands that you didn't seek this situation," Charles reassured him. "Focus on making the summit successful, and that will honor the work she put into preparing for it." As the day ended, all parties were beginning to accept the new reality. The summit would proceed with Prince William as the Crown's representative. The security threat had been neutralized with Sarah Pemberton's arrest, and Queen Camilla would have to rebuild her confidence and trust in her remaining staff, but questions lingered about whether there were other factors beyond security that had influenced the decision to change representation. Some palace observers wondered if the security crisis had been used as cover for deeper concerns about Queen Camilla's readiness for major diplomatic responsibilities. Commander Mitchell, reviewing the events of the past few days, felt satisfied that his decision had been correct but troubled by the personal cost to Queen Camilla. He made a mental note to ensure that future security protocols would better protect all members of the royal family. The morning of the European summit arrived with crisp autumn air and unprecedented security measures surrounding Lancaster House, the historic London venue chosen for the negotiations. Prince William arrived an hour before the scheduled start, using the time for final preparations and to center himself for what would be one of the most important diplomatic engagements of his career. In the ornate gold room, Prince William reviewed his notes one final time. Every page contained insights that Queen Camilla had painstakingly gathered during her months of preparation. He felt the weight of representing not just the crown, but also honoring her extensive groundwork. Commander Mitchell conducted his final security sweep of the building, satisfied that the venue was secure but remaining vigilant for any unexpected developments. The arrest of Sarah Pemberton had eliminated the known security threat, but intelligence services remained on high alert for any additional risks. "Your Royal Highness," his private secretary announced, "the delegations are arriving." Prince William straightened his tie and walked toward the main reception room, where he would greet each delegation personally before the formal negotiations began. This personal touch had been one of Queen Camilla's planned strategies, and he was determined to execute it flawlessly. Ambassador Weber arrived first, representing the German delegation. "Your Royal Highness, on behalf of Chancellor Müller, I want to express Germany's enthusiasm for these discussions." "Ambassador Weber, thank you for your patience with the change in representation. I look forward to building on the excellent foundation that Queen Camilla established during your preliminary discussions," William replied, immediately implementing one of Camilla's key strategies of acknowledging her contribution while establishing his own authority. Similar exchanges occurred with each arriving delegation. Ambassador Dubois from France, Ambassador Rossi from Italy, and representatives from Spain, Netherlands, and Belgium all received personal greetings that referenced their previous communications with Queen Camilla while expressing confidence in the new arrangement. Meanwhile, at Clarence House, Queen Camilla was watching news coverage of the summit's opening ceremonies. Despite her disappointment, she felt a surge of pride as she observed Prince William smoothly handling the diplomatic protocol she had spent so much time learning. Her new temporary lady-in-waiting, Margaret Foster, brought her tea and the morning papers. Your Majesty, the coverage is quite positive. Several commentators are noting how well prepared Prince William appears to be. Camilla smiled slightly. He is well prepared. We spent considerable time reviewing every aspect of these negotiations. She paused, watching William on television as he engaged with the European representatives. I just hope he remembers the conversation techniques we discussed for handling the more challenging moments. Back at Lancaster House, the delegations had moved into the main conference room for the opening session. Prince William took his seat at the head of the polished mahogany table, surrounded by some of Europe's most experienced diplomatic representatives. Ladies and gentlemen, Prince William began, I want to start by acknowledging the exceptional preparation work done by Queen Camilla for these discussions. While circumstances required a change in representation, our commitment to strengthening European partnerships remains unchanged and indeed has been reinforced by recent events. This opening statement served multiple purposes. It honored Queen Camilla's contribution, addressed the elephant in the room regarding the last-minute change, and positioned the security situation as evidence of Britain's serious commitment to these negotiations. Ambassador Dubois leaned forward. Your Royal Highness, France is particularly interested in discussing agricultural trade agreements and environmental cooperation. We understand these are areas where you have considerable personal expertise. William nodded, recognizing this as the opening Queen Camilla had predicted. Indeed, Ambassador Dubois, I believe our shared commitment to sustainable agriculture presents opportunities for innovative cooperation that could benefit both our farmers and our environmental goals. The first morning session proceeded smoothly, with each delegation presenting their priorities and initial positions. Prince William found himself drawing heavily on Queen Camilla's detailed personality profiles of each representative. Her insight that Ambassador Rossi preferred direct communication while Ambassador Weber responded better to diplomatic nuance proved invaluable. During the coffee break, Prince William stepped outside to call Queen Camilla privately. How did the opening session go? She asked immediately. Your preparation was absolutely crucial, William replied. Ambassador Dubois responded exactly as you predicted when I mentioned sustainable agriculture. And Ambassador Weber's concerns about small business impacts were precisely what you anticipated. Camilla felt a mixture of satisfaction and wistfulness. I'm glad the preparation is proving useful. Are they addressing the financial cooperation framework this morning? That's the afternoon agenda. Do you have any last-minute insights about Ambassador Rosie's position on banking regulations? They spent 15 minutes reviewing strategy for the afternoon session, with Camilla providing nuanced advice about each delegation's likely negotiating tactics. Despite not being physically present, she was still playing a crucial role in the summit's success. The afternoon session brought more challenging negotiations, particularly around financial cooperation agreements. Ambassador Rossi, as Queen Camilla had predicted, raised concerns about the impact on Italy's smaller financial institutions. Prince William leaned back in his chair, remembering Queen Camilla's advice about Italian negotiating style. Ambassador Rossi, I appreciate Italy's concerns about protecting smaller institutions. Perhaps we could explore frameworks that provide additional safeguards, specifically for community banks while still achieving our broader integration goals. This approach, directly from Queen Camilla's playbook, immediately shifted the tenor of the discussion. Ambassador Rossi's defensive posture softened, and he began engaging more constructively with the proposed frameworks. Ambassador Weber observed this exchange with interest. Later, during a brief recess, he approached Prince William privately. Your Royal Highness, your understanding of our various national concerns is quite impressive. You seem to have anticipated many of our positions. William smiled diplomatically. Extensive preparation and good advice from experienced colleagues make all the difference in these discussions. As the day progressed, it became clear that the summit was exceeding expectations. The combination of Prince William's existing relationships with European leaders and Queen Camilla's thorough preparation was proving remarkably effective, however. Not everyone was pleased with how well the summit was proceeding. In a small office within the Foreign Ministry, Deputy Secretary Marcus Thornberry was growing concerned about the implications of the summit's success. Thornberry had been one of the voices questioning Queen Camilla's suitability for major diplomatic roles. He had hoped that her exclusion from the summit would demonstrate the need for more experienced representation in future international negotiations. The fact that Prince William was successfully using her preparation work was undermining his preferred narrative. He placed a call to his contact at a prominent political journal. I think it's important that people understand Prince William's success today is built on months of groundwork laid by more experienced diplomatic hands, he said carefully. This shouldn't be seen as validation of inexperienced approaches to international relations. Meanwhile, the summit participants were moving into the final session of the day. The agenda called for preliminary agreements on 3 major cooperation frameworks: environmental partnerships, financial integration, and cultural exchange programs. Prince William felt increasingly confident as he guided the discussions. Queen Camilla's insights about finding common ground between different national priorities were proving accurate at every turn. When tensions arose between the French and German positions on environmental regulations, he successfully mediated using techniques she had taught him. If I may suggest, Prince William said during a particularly difficult exchange, perhaps we could view this disagreement as an opportunity to create more flexible implementation timelines that address both France's immediate concerns and Germany's long-term objectives. Ambassador Dubois and Ambassador Weber exchanged glances, both recognizing the diplomatic skill in the suggestion. Within 30 minutes, they had outlined a compromise framework that satisfied both delegations. As the day concluded, Prince William felt exhausted but elated. The summit had achieved more in one day than many international negotiations accomplished in weeks of discussion. He immediately called Queen Camilla to share the outcomes. The environmental partnership framework is essentially agreed upon. The financial cooperation structure has broad support, and we've made significant. The second day of the summit dawned with an unexpected crisis that would test both Prince William's diplomatic skills and the security measures put in place by Commander Mitchell. At precisely 7:30 a.m., encrypted intelligence reports began flooding into the Security Command Center at Lancaster House. Colonel Davies burst into Commander Mitchell's temporary office with urgent dispatches. "Sir, we have a situation." Intelligence services have intercepted communications, suggesting that yesterday's successful negotiations have triggered concerns among certain European political factions who prefer continued division rather than increased cooperation. Mitchell immediately understood the implications. Are we looking at external interference or internal sabotage? Potentially both, Davies replied grimly. There are indications that some groups view today's expected agreements as threatening to their nationalist agendas. We've detected unusual activity around the summit venue and increased communications between known disruptive elements. Meanwhile, Prince William was beginning his morning preparation routine, unaware of the developing security concerns. He had arranged another early call with Queen Camilla to review strategy for the day's more complex negotiations. Today's agenda includes the most difficult items, Queen Camilla explained over their secure video connection. The trade harmonization discussions will test every relationship you've built with the delegates. Remember that Ambassador Rossi becomes more defensive when he feels pressured, while Ambassador Weber responds well to technical details. Prince William took careful notes, appreciating how Queen Camilla's insights had proven accurate throughout the previous day. What about the cultural exchange agreements? France seemed hesitant about some of the proposed student mobility programs. Ambassador Dubois is concerned about domestic political reactions, Camilla explained. If you can frame the cultural exchanges as preserving national identities while building understanding, rather than promoting integration, you'll likely find more support. Their conversation was interrupted when Prince William's private secretary knocked urgently on the door. Your Royal Highness, Commander Mitchell needs to brief you on some security developments before the summit resumes. 20 minutes later. Prince William was receiving a classified briefing about the potential threats to the day's negotiations. Commander Mitchell was careful to present the information without causing undue alarm. Your Royal Highness, we've identified some concerning activity that suggests certain groups may attempt to disrupt today's proceedings. The threats aren't directed at personal safety, but rather at the success of the negotiations themselves. What kind of disruption are we talking about? William asked. Potentially leaked information designed to embarrass delegations, coordinated media campaigns to undermine public support for any agreements, or even false flag incidents designed to create tension between the participating countries. Prince William absorbed this information while considering its implications for the delicate negotiations ahead. Are you recommending any changes to today's agenda or procedures? We suggest enhanced communication security and possibly conducting the most sensitive discussions in a different, more secure location within the building. We've also increased surveillance around the venue and strengthened coordination with European security services. At the various delegation hotels, similar security briefings were taking place. The European representatives were being informed about potential threats without creating panic or undermining confidence in British security capabilities. Ambassador Weber received his briefing from the German security attaché. Ambassador, British intelligence has shared concerns about possible attempts to sabotage today's negotiations. They're taking comprehensive precautions, but we wanted you to be aware of the situation. What kind of sabotage attempts? Weber asked, his diplomatic experience making him immediately concerned about the implications. Information warfare, primarily. Attempts to leak sensitive negotiating positions or create artificial controversies that could derail the cooperation agreements. Similar briefings occurred at the French, Italian, and other European delegation headquarters. The response from the experienced diplomats was uniformly professional. They would proceed with the negotiations while remaining alert to any unusual developments. Queen Camilla, watching morning news coverage from Clarence House, noticed an uptick in negative commentary about the summit's first-day success. Several political commentators were questioning whether the agreements were being rushed through, without proper consideration of national sovereignty concerns. Her new private secretary, James Wright, brought her attention to social media trends. Your Majesty, there's been a coordinated campaign overnight questioning the summit's legitimacy and suggesting that Prince William lacks the experience for such complex negotiations. Camilla frowned as she reviewed the online commentary. Much of it seemed artificially generated, with similar talking points appearing across multiple platforms simultaneously. This looks like organized disinformation rather than genuine public concern. She immediately called Commander Mitchell to share her observations. Commander, I'm seeing coordinated negative messaging about the summit across multiple media platforms. This might be related to your security concerns. Mitchell appreciated Queen Camilla's insight. Your Majesty, that's very helpful intelligence. We'll coordinate with our cybersecurity teams to track the sources of these campaigns. Back at Lancaster House, Prince William was entering the conference room for the second day's opening session. The atmosphere felt different from the previous day's optimistic start. Several delegation members appeared tense, and there was an undercurrent of concern that hadn't been present before. Ladies and gentlemen, Prince William began, before we proceed with today's agenda, I want to address some concerning developments that have come to our attention. It appears that external forces may be attempting to interfere with our negotiations. Ambassador Dubois looked up sharply. What kind of interference, Your Royal Highness? Our security services have identified coordinated efforts to undermine public support for European cooperation and potentially to sabotage our negotiations through information warfare. I want to assure all delegations that we are taking comprehensive measures to protect both the integrity of our discussions and the confidentiality of your positions. This transparency about the security concerns had an unexpected positive effect. Rather than creating anxiety, it seemed to unite the delegations around their shared commitment to successful outcomes despite external pressure. Ambassador Rossi spoke for the group. Your Royal Highness. Italy and our colleagues appreciate British openness about these threats. We propose that we proceed with our negotiations with even greater determination to achieve meaningful agreements. The morning session proceeded with heightened focus and urgency. Paradoxically, the knowledge that external forces were trying to prevent their success seemed to motivate the delegations to work more collaboratively. Prince William found himself drawing even more heavily on Queen Camilla's preparation as the negotiations became more complex. Her detailed analysis of each country's domestic political pressures proved invaluable as he navigated increasingly sensitive discussions. During a break, he called Queen Camilla again. The security concerns seemed to have actually improved the negotiating atmosphere. Everyone is more committed to success because they know others are trying to prevent it. That's fascinating, Camilla replied. Sometimes external pressure creates internal unity. Are you making progress on the trade harmonization framework? More than expected. Ambassador Weber suggested some technical modifications that actually strengthen the proposal while addressing Germany's concerns about implementation timelines. As the day progressed, Commander Mitchell's security team continued monitoring the various threat indicators. The cybersecurity unit had identified the sources of much of the negative social media campaign, tracing it to several organizations known for promoting European division. Colonel Davies reported to Mitchell, "Sir, we've disrupted several planned leak operations and identified the funding sources for the disinformation campaigns. It appears to be a coordinated effort involving both domestic and foreign elements who oppose increased European cooperation." This intelligence confirmed Mitchell's suspicions that the threats were politically motivated rather than random security concerns. The success of the previous day's negotiations had apparently triggered organized opposition efforts. Meanwhile, Prince William was guiding the delegations through the most complex discussions of the entire summit. The trade harmonization framework required balancing competing national interests while creating genuinely beneficial cooperation mechanisms. "If I may suggest a different approach," Prince William said during a particularly difficult exchange between the French and German delegations, perhaps we could create flexible implementation phases that allow each country to adapt the framework to their specific circuit. The final day of the European summit arrived with unprecedented media attention and public interest. News outlets across Europe and beyond were reporting that the negotiations had achieved more substantial agreements than any similar diplomatic gathering in recent memory. The irony wasn't lost on observers that a summit nearly derailed by security concerns had become a historic success. Prince William arrived at Lancaster House knowing that this would be the most crucial day of his diplomatic career. The morning would focus on finalizing the three major cooperation frameworks, while the afternoon would be devoted to signing ceremonies and public presentations of the agreements. Commander Mitchell conducted his final security assessment with particular attention to the increased media presence and public interest. The successful negotiations had attracted more attention than anticipated, which created both opportunities and additional security challenges. "Your Royal Highness," Mitchell briefed Prince William, "we've neutralized the external threats that emerged yesterday, but the summit's success has generated new security considerations. The level of public and media interest means that today's proceedings will be scrutinized more intensely than originally planned." Prince William nodded, understanding that the spotlight would be even brighter for the conclusion of negotiations that had exceeded everyone's expectations. "Have there been any new developments regarding the investigation into the information leaks?" "Sarah, Pemberton's cooperation with authorities has helped us identify the broader network involved in the security breaches. We've confirmed that the threats were part of a coordinated effort to prevent European cooperation agreements, which makes your success here even more significant." At Clarence House, Queen Camilla was preparing for what she knew would be an emotional day. The summit's success vindicated her months of preparation work, but also highlighted what she had missed by being excluded from the negotiations. She had arranged to watch the final proceedings and signing ceremonies on television, knowing that her contribution would be largely invisible to the public. Her private secretary, James Wright, brought her the morning newspapers with their overwhelmingly positive coverage of the summit's achievements. Your Majesty, several outlets are specifically mentioning that Prince William's success built upon extensive preparation work by the royal household. Camilla appreciated the recognition, even though it was indirect. The important thing is that the summit is succeeding and that Britain's relationships with our European partners are being strengthened. However, privately, she was beginning to plan her response to the situation. She had decided that rather than dwelling on disappointment, she would use this experience to advocate for more robust security protocols that would protect future royal diplomatic initiatives back at Lancaster House. The final negotiating session was beginning with remarkable energy and focus. All delegations had arrived knowing that they were on the verge of achieving something historically significant. Prince William opened the session with remarks that acknowledged the extraordinary progress made over the previous 2 days. Ladies and gentlemen, what we've accomplished together exceeds our most optimistic expectations when these discussions began. Today, we have the opportunity to finalize agreements that will shape European cooperation for decades to come. Ambassador Weber, speaking for the German delegation, responded with enthusiasm that reflected the general mood in the room. Your Royal Highness, Germany is pleased to confirm our commitment to all 3 cooperation frameworks. The environmental partnership agreements alone represent a breakthrough in sustainable development coordination. Similar confirmations came from each delegation, with Ambassador Daubier expressing France's satisfaction with the cultural exchange programs and Ambassador Rossi praising the financial cooperation frameworks that would benefit smaller European economies. The morning session proceeded smoothly, with final technical details being resolved efficiently. Prince William found himself relying heavily on Queen Camilla's guidance about managing the personalities and priorities of each delegation member, even during these concluding discussions. During a brief recess, he called Queen Camilla for what would be their final consultation. We're about to finalize everything. Your preparation has been absolutely essential to making this work. William, I'm watching the coverage and I couldn't be prouder of how you've handled these negotiations, Camilla replied, her voice filled with genuine warmth despite her personal disappointment. You've honored all the work we did together while bringing your own skills and relationships to bear. I want to make sure you receive proper recognition for your contribution, William said. During the closing ceremonies, I plan to acknowledge publicly that this success built upon your preparation work. Camilla paused, considering this offer. That's very generous, William, but I think it's important that you receive full credit for your achievement. What matters most is that Britain's interests have been served well. This conversation reflected the grace and professionalism that both Prince William and Queen Camilla had demonstrated throughout the crisis. Despite the personal and political complications, they had maintained focus on their shared commitment to serving Britain's diplomatic interests. The afternoon signing ceremonies began with unprecedented pomp and circumstance. Representatives from major European media outlets were present, along with diplomatic correspondents who recognized the historic significance of the agreements being formalized. Prince William signed the documents on behalf of the British Crown, officially committing Britain to the Environmental Partnership Framework, the financial cooperation agreements, and the expanded cultural exchange programs. Each signature represented months of Queen Camilla's preparation work finally coming to fruition. During his remarks at the signing ceremony, Prince William chose to acknowledge the broader effort that had made success possible. These agreements represent not just the work of the past 3 days, but months of preparation by dedicated members of the royal household and government officials who understood the importance of strengthening our European partnerships. This carefully worded acknowledgement honored Queen Camilla's contribution without specifically mentioning the security crisis that had led to the change in representation. It was a diplomatic solution to a delicate personal and political situation. The European representatives responded with their own speeches, praising the negotiations and expressing optimism about the future of British-European cooperation. Ambassador Weber noted that the summit had exceeded all expectations and demonstrated that effective diplomacy can overcome any obstacles. As the formal ceremonies concluded, Prince William felt a profound sense of accomplishment mixed with awareness of the personal costs involved. He had successfully represented the crown in crucial negotiations, but he knew that Queen Camilla had paid a significant personal price for his success. That evening, the traditional closing dinner was held at Buckingham Palace, with King Charles hosting the European delegations. This marked the first time during the summit that the king had been directly involved in the proceedings. King Charles used his remarks during the dinner to place the summit's success in broader historical context. Tonight's agreements represent the best traditions of European cooperation and diplomacy. They demonstrate that, even in times of political uncertainty, our shared values and interests can unite us in common purpose. Queen Camilla attended the dinner as an honored guest, receiving warm recognition from the European delegates who had worked with her during the preparation phase. Despite the disappointment of missing the actual negotiations, she found satisfaction in seeing her months of work culminate in such positive outcomes. Ambassador Dubois approached her during the reception. "Your Majesty, I want to thank you personally for the excellent foundation you laid for these negotiations." Prince William frequently referenced insights and analysis that clearly came from your preparation work. Similar conversations occurred throughout the evening, with each delegation member acknowledging Queen Camilla's behind-the-scenes contribution to the summit's success. While she couldn't participate directly in the negotiations, her months of relationship building and preparation had proven essential. In the weeks that followed, the summit's success continued to generate positive coverage for British diplomacy and the royal family's role in international relations. Policy analysts praised the agreements as genuinely beneficial for all participating countries, while diplomatic observers noted the skilled facilitation that had made such comprehensive accords possible. Commander Mitchell received commendations for his security decisions, which had been vindicated by the discovery of the organized efforts to sabotage the negotiations. The arrest of Sarah Pemberton and the disruption of the broader security threats had demonstrated the importance of robust protective measures for royal diplomatic activities. Prince William emerged from the summit with enhanced reputation as a skilled diplomat capable of handling complex international negotiations. However, would protect future royal diplomatic and